conceive of, including providing legal advice. And certainly, you know, it's lucky that when, I guess it's Dr. Mudd repaired John Wilkes Booth's leg, you know, that would have been material assistance to assassination. You know, under these theory, somebody who treats a terrorist with a heart condition is now guilty. But I state this because there's no way that it subtracts from our ability to detect terrorism and those who would engage in terrorism, including conspiracies or agreements to engage in terrorism, by limiting the search and seizure power of the government to suspicion that crime is afoot. Gathering foreign intelligence? That would have been inconceivable to the founding generation that ratified the Fourth Amendment, where you have to have particularized suspicion that someone is engaged in criminal wrongdoing before you can undertake to disturb his right to be left alone. These larger issues of who we are as a people are totally forgotten in Congress. In fact, it's largely, subordinate to the political culture, which debates all the drivel about people's hairdos and whether or not they have X, Y, or Z as their campaign manager. And politics is like a football game, the red team, and the blue team, and the purple team, and whatever. The idea of politics to the Founding Fathers was, we want every American to be a winner. Everybody ought to have a fair opportunity to succeed, not by dependency on government, by dint of their own hard work that gives them the pride and dignity that they deserve as human beings. So politics isn't like making losers and winners. It's true that obviously we have elections, some people get elected to office, but in the long arc of life, we want everybody to be a winner. Who gets gratification and joy off of taunting while somebody fell down? No, that's like kids do when the sandbox. And we're out of the sandbox when we're in politics. And that's what the spirit of America was about. And partly it was true at the founding because there was a consensus that George Washington was going to be president. There weren't any political parties at the time. There were a Federalist Party, I guess, that was developed to promote the ratification of the Constitution. But nothing like the partisanship that enters today. Now, there's nothing wrong with forming parties, as long as they understand their highest loyalty is to what? The Constitution of the United States. There's only one oath that members of Congress take. It's to the Constitution. Not to the Democrat Party, not to the Republican Party, not to independents. It's the Constitution, the letter and spirit of the Constitution. And with a handful of exceptions, members of Congress are violating their oath. They don't even know what the Constitution means. And they don't have the maturity and seriousness to actually read the words, the history, why they were put there. And we, the people, remain sovereign. We still have the ability to rebuke the members, vote them out of office, say we want people there who accept and want responsibility for the decisions entrusted to the Congress. We'll put checks on the executive branch. And equally important to remember that Americans, consistent with the Constitution, take risks that other people don't take. That's really the central meaning of the Fourth Amendment. We knowingly take risks that other people don't, because we care about liberty being more important than absolute safety, but being a vassal. We care about it. We take risks so we avoid injuring innocent people, not improperly invading their privacy that others don't take. And we take that because we enjoy and treasure a life of liberty, even if it means a possibility of something as disastrous as 9/11. Than living in absolute safety and losing our freedom and being serfs. Because Big Brother then puts everybody in prison anytime he wants, spies on everything 24 hours a day. Says, oh, I'll make you safe. Who cares about freedom? Well, I don't know about you. I do. I would rather risk being killed in a 9/11 than being turned into a vassal. Because then life isn't worth living anymore. It's a fundamental principle of life itself, which goes to the heart and depths of politics, certainly in the United States of America. And this is something, these kind of ideas need to come to the forefront in campaigns. They need to inspire voters as to reject this Leviathan state, this one-branch government. Say, yeah, you say you'll make me safe, but will you make me free? Will you preserve my liberty? Make them answer that question. Make them answer that question. You're going to spy on me because I'm innocent? And look at this kind of theory with the Ed Snowden case. He's charged under the Espionage Act so far in the complaint. Now, you ordinarily think espionage consists in a cloak of weapons, spying for the enemy, right? You're disclosing information to an enemy. Well, he was disclosing information to us. We responded, and now 75% of the American people say we need to change the way the NSA is doing business. Well, let's see, what's the government's theory? If Ed Snowden disclosed information that had been hidden for 7 years, and he's said to be disclosing information to the enemy, then we're the enemy in the eyes of the government. We're the enemy. It goes to a fundamental principle of the difference between the culture that has tyranny and the culture that has liberty. When the people fear the government, you have tyranny. But when the government fears the people, you have liberty. And we need to get to the latter situation by people standing up and saying, no more. Vote you out of office. This is not acceptable. We find these principles of government you're espousing belong to King George III. We side with George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and all those soldiers who sacrificed far more than us at Valley Forge. Didn't ask for food stamps, didn't ask for Social Security benefits, but they sacrificed so we could be free. That's right. Now, I was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and the first verses I learned from my mother were the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. It's 18th of April in 75, and barely a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. One if I land, two if I sea. And then Ralph Waldo Emerson conquered him. By the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flags to April's breeze unfurled. Here once the embattled farmer stood and fired the shot heard round the world. So I'm sort of imbued with what I see is a moral obligation to redeem and to pass on to our posterity what these forefathers fought and sacrificed that we've received the benefits of. It's not acceptable to just play spectator. Because the reason why we're here today, we have the liberties right now, is because people sacrificed vastly more than we did so that we would inherit liberty and freedom. They used intellectual toil, they sacrificed in battle. So who are we if we are complacent as this country turns into one branch tyrannical government? If posterity, our children or children's children, inherit a tyranny, that's our fault. And I always recall the historian Tacitus was recalling how the Roman Republic degenerated into the Roman Empire. He was writing years after the fact. And he wrote, the worst crimes were dared by a few, willed by more, but tolerated by all. We don't want a Tacitus 50 or 60 years from now writing about us, or this generation. The worst crimes were dared by a few, willed by more, and tolerated by all. Because we don't need to do archaeology to discover these crimes against the Constitution. They are open, they are notorious, they would be appalling to the Founding Fathers. And this is an effort not because we want recrimination or retribution against the occupants of office. Politics shouldn't be personal. It's the institutions that we care about. And we need to remove these people. Not send them to Siberia and say, we cannot make you stewards of our liberty because you are irresponsible. We need others who represent the people, who represent the idea that the individual is the center of our constitutional universe, not some big Leviathan state, and then we'll move forward. Until we get there, I think all of these sort of maneuvers are trivial compared to ultimately our destiny, which is to fall to ruination. All empires, all great countries are destroyed from within before they are destroyed from without. That's been true from the beginning of time, going back to the Athenian Empire. And that's the challenge we confront. We confront that challenge. We have Paul Revere's, but Paul Revere isn't warning about the British. He's warning about us. We are bringing our own ruination by failing to understand liberty and to defend it without flinching. Anyway, that's the basic message that I have to give. I think you're all active. The future of the country rests upon you and me. There's this trite phrase that says, well, the future of the country is all youth. Well, yeah, it is, but the obligation to be a citizen doesn't sit hit an age limit, you know, where suddenly you get to phase out after you're over 50 or 60 or whatever. You know, it's there for your entire life. As long as you're enjoying liberty, you have an obligation to make the system work. Otherwise, you sort of should leave.